Paul Rieckhoff here with us in New York. Paul's the host of the Independent Americans podcast, co-founder of American Veterans for Ukraine and Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. Welcome, as always, on our telestrator here. We'll bring up the map. Robert already showed the video reaction to what's going on here between Lebanon and Israel. The U.S. Embassy, obviously right in this area, but as Robert points out, the border here is also in focus, and we've been talking about a wider war for months, but it seems like a more real conversation today.
Yeah, I'd put a big circle around the entire screen and say there are Americans in the middle of all of it. I think that's really an underscored, an underreported point, that Americans are in harm's way. We've got American personnel there. This is the same place where over 220 Marines were killed back in an embassy, the barracks bombing in 1983. So it's important to remember that American sons and daughters are in the middle of all this. So far, there's been an ability to kind of keep a lid on it. It's stayed pretty much inside Gaza. There hasn't been a northern front. There haven't been attacks throughout the Middle East on American forces, but that's still a very real threat. Anywhere Americans are operating, not just in the Middle East, but around the world, they are on higher alert right now, and the attacks are potentially constant. Yeah,
I'm looking at the video from what you referenced, 1983, which everybody remembers in Beirut. The wider war theory or worry, how is that related, do you think, to what's happening in Gaza with these ceasefire talks? I mean, in other words, if they get something done there, is this less likely? If they don't, is it more likely? I mean, how do you see it?
I think it's all still possible, right? And how probable it is, I don't know. I'm not reading the daily intelligence reports, but the world is focused now on Gaza, right? And there's fury around the world. And I remember from my time in Iraq, we would have foreign fighters from all over the world that came to Iraq to kill Americans. Now you're going to have the same thing. You're going to have people going to the Middle East because they want to kill Israelis, because they want to kill Westerners, because they see it as a jihad or a freedom fight of some kind. So I think the threat is rising. Even if things do settle down, there's still very much a line in the sand here and a call to arms, if you will, to radicals around the world to try to enter this fight. So I wouldn't be lulled into any kind of complacency, even if there is a ceasefire.
Now, I mentioned when I was introducing you all the work that you are doing and have done for veterans. I mean, President Biden in Normandy, D-Day anniversary. Your thoughts on a day like this?
I think we need reminders like this. It's the 80th anniversary of the date when a generation of Americans saved the world. They stood up to tyranny. So many lost their lives on those beaches in Normandy, and all we asked for was a place to bury them. So you're going to see those headstones. You're going to see the world's leaders come together. And I think that's also going to be a powerful message for our president to show he can unify the world, that America can unify the world. President Zelensky will also be there. So I think it'll be a reminder about the cost of freedom, and a reminder that that cost is now being paid in Ukraine, with Ukrainian forces fighting on behalf of the West against Putin in an illegal, immoral war of aggression. And it's a reminder that freedom must be defended constantly. Every generation has a call, and we may have ours now.
You've gotten, one more thing on Ukraine, because you've gotten so involved in it lately with this new organization you have. What's your confidence level that that's still a winnable war? I know we've talked about it before, but
I think it's absolutely a winnable war. It's a matter of how much we remain focused, how much we pour weapons and support in there. Putin is hoping we give up. Putin has always been hoping that the West would give up, that the Americans would give up, that we'd get tired of it, because we get tired of our own wars. He figures we'll get tired of that war too, and he's trying to outlast us. So I think it's very much a winnable war. I think that's going to be Zelensky and Biden's message this week in D-Day. If the world unites, we can defeat tyranny like we did back then.
All right, a little pivot here to politics. We never let you get out of here without talking a little bit of politics, especially independent politics. It's not, you talk about groups that are not a monolith. I think independents are also not a monolith. But there have been headlines. I mean, Joe Manchin in the last few weeks leaving the Democratic Party. So I guess he's technically an independent, right? So you have Manchin as one. The other one, of course, is Menendez, who's on trial. Senator Menendez is going to run for Senate New Jersey but not on the Democratic line. Congressman Kim will be on that line. So what about the influence of those two in particular on elections this November? You think either one?
I think there's a bigger trend. If the Democratic Party doesn't want you and the Republican Party doesn't want you and you have nowhere else to go, you can call yourself an independent. And that's politically convenient. Some places it may be more favorable. Manchin, for example, is going to be more popular as an independent than as a Democrat. The Democratic brand is dragging him down in West Virginia. Menendez, the Democrats don't want him. He's indicted. He's likely to be convicted. He took, he's allegedly took gold bullion to be paid off by foreign agents. So I think, we have to remember that there are real independents, people who are independents because they value integrity and they don't want to be a part of the party. And then there are others who do it for convenience.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.